We're now about midway through the season. It's the middle of July. The phenology of the crop is such that we're pegging and potting, and I think the important thing to consider would be really two sets of pest pressures that we can witness. That will be foliage feeding pests and soil-borne pests. Today we're going to talk about foliage feeding pests such as foliage feeding worms. When scouting for foliage feeding pests, it's important to remember to randomly locate 8 locations in a field that would be 120 acres.
Go ahead.
In this location, take 8 locations and gently fold the plants over and try to shake out any pests that may be in this area. Fold back the plants and count what pest species may drop into this area. If it's worms and foliage feeding that are foliage feeding pests, for runner type peanuts, a treatable level will be approximately 10 to 12 worms per row foot, depending on the time of year and depending on previous feeding. Another foliage feeding pest that you need to consider will be grasshoppers. They'll move in on field margins and become established. They can be one generation per year depending on the species, but treatable levels can be reached. The real important thing to consider with grasshoppers are going to be their size. Starting out small, they don't quite eat as much. As they get larger, they do eat more, and populations may be such that you'll have to make this treatment. At times you can have accumulative damage from these multiple pests such as grasshoppers and worms, and if that's the case, a treatment that will treat both of them would be in order. When scouting for foliage feeding pests, it's also important to take into account something like egg masses, because that can give you an indication of what future populations may hold. Also, when scouting peanuts, it's important to remember what the beneficial populations are doing. I can't tell you how many times I've gone out and seen what appeared to be treatable populations of, say, something like 20 worms per row foot. Go back some 2 or 3 days later, and those populations are down to, say, 5 worms per row foot, which is a sub-economic level. So the power of beneficials as well as pathogens and other diseases that affect insects are something that you need to account for.